So this was a story I wanted to hit on this edition of Sports from the Couch and the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. So the NBA playoffs have been in full swing. There's been awesome games, some crazy storylines, and one of the biggest ones, the Pacers bouncing the Bucks from the first round of the playoffs, and now former MVP, former Finals MVP, NBA champion Giannis Antetokounmpo's future is in the news. What is going to happen? And of course, this is somebody, if you've been listening to us, whether it is the Sports Cubicle, Sports from the Couch, the Chicago Beat, however long you've been listening to me on YouTube or wherever you get your favorite podcast, I have always been a dreamer. I've always had the pipe dream, the pie in the sky thought of having Giannis as a Chicago Bull. He's, full disclosure, my favorite player, my favorite modern player in the NBA, although Anthony Edwards might be going for that running as well. But every time I have a conversation about the Chicago Bulls and the future, you have always kind of seen the same theme, is they have to put themselves in a position to get a disgruntled star or a star that's looking for a fresh start, to have assets, to have talent, to put yourself in a financial situation in which a circumstance like that comes around, that you're ready to jump on it. And the Bulls have never been able to do that. And the few times that they have been at a table, they've been kicked out. They haven't made the final three. They weren't real contenders to land a big fish. And when you think about the big fishes they have landed, anywhere from Carlos Boozer to DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. Think about that for a second, right? Like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine is probably the most modern stars they brought in via trade, and they tried building around. What tier of superstardom would you put DeMar and Zach? I love DeMar, and I really like Zach. You wouldn't put them in the Giannis tier, would you? So that is where we're playing on, just on a surface, just as a preset to all this. I have always been somebody very optimistic about the Chicago Bulls, a 6-time NBA champion organization, the home of some of the greatest teams of all time, including for just the god of the sport, somebody that is so beloved and so polarizing that modern day players and players that have come after him are not only chasing his ghost, but he is so defended that it's almost impossible for anybody to take his stature as the greatest of all time, and that's Michael Jordan. And then talk about all the other greats that have played there, and then you put in the Chicago market. We all know all this. I've always thought it's a great selling point, but yet it's never been able to come to fruition. And that whether that's Garpax, all those years, Gar Forman, John Paxson, whether it's now with Mark Eversley and Arturas Karnisovas, the common denominator, right, even looking back to Jerry Krause, is Jerry Reinsdorf and the Reinsdorf family. So now it's 2025. You're looking at the 2025-2026 season. And I'm not going to, as the kids say, no cap here. The Bulls aren't in this. The Bulls will not be in on Giannis. And it's not because they don't have the great city, the great fan base. They can't make money. They can't offer the money. It's simply because this organization is too inept to be creative enough to come up with a trade. They aren't willing to not be as stubborn of an organization as they are. That is what this team has done over and over again. False hope and survival, just good enough to keep going year to year. And I'm talking to them personally when it comes to their contract, just good enough so that Jerry's happy, so that you have a job for life. Because it takes creativity and it takes risk to get a player like Giannis on your roster. You have to be willing to give up the house to bring in a superstar, a generational talent, somebody who's proved it before already, to bring him onto your roster, to make them leave where they're at and trust in you that you will be better for them in the long term, for their legacy. That's what we're talking about when you're bringing in a talent like Giannis. If you're a superstar that is looking for a new home, if you're a free agent looking for a new home, do you trust this organization to do that for you? What in the last 15 years has made you believe that you want to not only play for the Chicago Bulls, that you can win for the Chicago Bulls, that they'll take care of you? You know, the fan base will. You know, the league would love to see you in that market. You'll sell a bunch of merch. You'll get a bunch of sponsorships. But every twist and turn, the organization is going to try to find a way to put a roadblock, to hinder that. And you could say it's conjecture. You could say this is just speculation. This is just fandom. But I have 25 years of proof. Look at how they handled the Derrick Rose injury situation. Look at how they've handled these rebuilds, how they've handled these trade deadlines, how they've handled scouting, drafting, how they've handled rehab. So you're expecting Giannis to come here? I'm saying this because for all the years you could go through the entire history of the show, that I have always been optimistic to say the Bulls could be in this. This is the selling point. You can go out there and really do something special. I'm here to be, unfortunately, the bearer of bad news, but more than anything, somebody who's been that guy before, somebody who's been said, I will hold on and I will carry water for some of these Chicago sports teams when it comes to getting free agents for being a destination. I'm not doing that this time. Giannis will not be a Chicago Bull. Giannis will go to an organization like the Miami Heat. And I know that's a name you've seen a lot of, right? And it's not like they've had the greatest of history recently, but they still land big names, whether they can keep them, whether they leave in the best of terms. They try to win, whether it's Jimmy Butler going to 2 NBA finals or the Heels winning NBA finals. Who are you more willing to play for? Mickey Harris and Pat Riley, or Jerry Michael Reinsdorf and Arturas Karnisovas? It's a simple question with a simple answer. Go around the league. Would you not rather play for the Lakers? Look at how they again, whether these things work out or not. Would you not rather play for an organization that's going to try to win it? Why not go for the Knicks? You know, unless you're going to be a team like the Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons, that have great scouting, great coaching, and their draft picks land, and they're able to make noise with their nucleus, or you're the Indiana Pacers, where you're creative as a front office to make trades for your superstar and then to surround your superstar. You're not going to be in any of these conversations, and you're sure as hell not going to land Giannis. And I don't blame Giannis for not wanting to come here. And this is one of those situations where I'm praying, I would be more than happy to be wrong. I would love to have egg on my face. I would love for every comment on this section a year from now to be like, wow, this aged like mayonnaise. Cringe. You know nothing. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to run it back. And if the Bulls are gutsy enough, have enough gumption to go and make a trade offer, what on this roster, because you would give up everything, what on this roster would Milwaukee want? I like Matas. You think he's enough? You think Kobe White's enough? Taylor Terry, Patrick Williams? You think any of these guys are enough? You think there's enough draft capital this Bulls organization has gathered is enough? Look at teams like OKC, Orlando, any of these teams that like finessed everybody. They're not going to have anything. Then you look at, like, let's say the Miami Heat, right? And again, a different conversation for different days. You trade all these assets. Now what are you going to do, right? Different conversation for different days. It's a valid one. So let's acknowledge that. But if you're Miami, Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo just to start. Better than anything you have in Chicago. You're showing up to a gunfight, not with a knife, but with water pistols. You're dead man walking in this NBA offseason if you're the Chicago Bulls. And I don't want Bulls fans who deserve better, who are some of the best fans in the NBA, deserve better, not to get their hopes up. So I want to know your thoughts, though. This is going to be an interesting story the rest of the offseason. Where will Giannis Antetokounmpo land? Will he stay in Milwaukee? Will Milwaukee do whatever it takes? After firing their coach, losing the first round, Doc Rivers can't get it done. Is Giannis going to stay? Is he going to find a new home? We want to know your thoughts. Are Chicago even in play? Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube at The Sports Cubicle or get us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Sports from the Couch. We are on Sunday nights here in Chicago on WCPT 820 a.m. and WSBC 1240 a.m. It's The Sports Cubicle as well on heartlandsignal.com. And if you would like Bears conversation, the Bears draft just happened. The training camp season is right around the corner. We know football is always on top of mind. Check out myself, Kieran Hall from the Irish Bear Show, and EJ Snyder from Bootleg Football as we break down all the news of the Chicago Bears offseason, regular season, and hopefully postseason coming up. And we have the best national guests, pundits, experts, beat reporters in the game joining us on Bear Era. Just search us on YouTube at Bear Era Pod or on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Please take care of yourself and take care of each other. You've been listening to Sports from the Couch. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.